Hi guys. I'll start by telling you about the brand of the paper I use. This time I use a Bristol paper. As you can see, it's a soft one, but you can use many types of Bristol paper, like the ones which are on the books of comics. This paper has a great capacity of absorbing ink. Watercolors, copy marker, and the use of pencils such as this time I'll use a Faber-Castell pencil, polished made. As you can see, these are the pencils I use to make the sketches. I also use this mechanical pencil. As you can see, it's a regular one. For the first sketch, I always use this replacement. This is a hard one, which help us to make the first sketch. I'll make a little demonstration for you can appreciate the work. The H replacement, different from the B ones, are harder, so it helps us to make the draw clear. As you can see, there is no dirt in the work. If you see, the draw is very clear. As you can see, I can sketch anything. I can make the structure of an eye. As you can see, I can do it very easy without worrying later about erase. I recommend always to have the age replacement for the first sketch, because after you can use this replacement I'll show you, which are the polished pencil replacement. It is in B replacement. Remember, it is polished color replacement. As you can see, this is a proper replacement you can use for this kind of work. So then you can reinforce it, but we are going to be sure. I suggest to make the sketch in a fast way and go from the general to the particular. I suggest to keep the detail for the last thing. I do it this way because I have a kind of experience. As you can see, we can go for the structure using always the age replacement. After using the replacement I told you before, the polished one, we can use the guide we first have, so later we can fix the drawing did. I use the human eye as an example because it was the most practical thing I found for you. Also, for you to have a more detailed notion of the thing we're dealing with. Even we can use this technique using the finger. It's okay, it's a resource we can work with. Any resource you can handle, it's okay. The correct word to use is a traditional drawing. Later, during the course, I'll be more specific, but I select this chapter for you to get familiarized with the materials we'll be working with and making a little demonstration in how we can use it in different occasions. As you can see, it's very fast and easy, just for you to have an idea, not having any kind of reference. After that, if you want to use any kind of ink, it's okay. You can use acrylic ink or Indian ink, which are very popular among the comics. That's up to you. I'm just showing the easy way of to do it, and I go from the simple to the more complex. for you to fulfill your drawings such as I do on my own style. Well, we have already seen the use of these replacements. The color pencils I use to make my work are this one. I use Faber-Castell, I also use Prismacolor. I love to use Faber-Castell because help me to have a more dry structure. Depend if I working on acrylic ink or acrylic, but I use the Prismacolor just to finish the work because it's softer, it's like a past. For example, as you can see, it's a thankful color and keeps the texture in the surface we're working with. Also, you can blur using the finger. It has good pigmentation. The line and cross are fantastic. It is amazing. And they make a good combination among them. They blend themselves among their own color. I am mixing a violet with a blue and I do it in a good way. As you can see, they do it very well. And if we want to degrade, we can use a higher tone and see how it degrades easy. In this time, the color and the acrylic ink. You can use any acrylic brand, but in this case, I use this brand. It's more expensive, but it's okay if you can have another. You can use it too. As I said before, you can use many brands because the material are not the most important part of the work, but then you will see that the materials not always determine the outcome of the work. Let's start for the yellow ink because it is the more clear and the most difficult color to obtain in a covering surface. Let's put it here up for you to can see. So I use this spray. You can use a regular one, even the barber shop or another one. It's just to put some water on work in order to dilute the pigment. Also, I like to use brush. I have a different kind of brush, for example, broad or narrow brush. It's all of the effect we want to accomplish in our drawing. With this one in particular, we are going to get in the more rough areas of the paint. Make lines and lines effects inside the drawing. But with the broad one, we can fill areas, but we can also get an amazing effect I will show you. Just to clarify, acrylic ink is not the same as acrylic. Acrylic ink is a specific ink which has acrylic polymers. Once we applied it, it will endure, it won't erase easily. As you can see here, and it works as a watercolor also. Okay, so here we have with more water, here we have a little thick. It can be very covered. I love this material because the amount of possibility who gave us to work with him. See, here I apply some water and I can blur it. From here, it gives us more clearness from the solid to the transparent. Now I'm gonna show you the black ink. I know it's a very difficult ink. And it's one of the final phases and comic artists should manage. Because have the particularity that if we put our brush on it, there's no going back. different from the digital art that we put Ctrl C and it will be back. But here we need to be very sure. That is why I recommend to draw every day. It doesn't matter what, but to draw every day. For example, here with this brush, I make this line and you can appreciate how beauty it makes. We can make different kind of line and we can even use it to create some effects, a little more semi-dry, in order to make degraded on superhero suits or capes. The same, we can got it using the broad one. So this one, it will help us in a different way. For example, here we are kind of making a square. So let's suppose all this area is blocked with shades. You can see all this area is blocked with shades. If all this part is surrounded by shades, it is supposed there will be shade from this part over here. So the light comes from this side. Now, how to accomplish a degrade with black ink is very easy. In another surface, of course, not the one we work in, we download the brush. We make this little trick, which is to separate the brush strands. And it gave us this effect. Similar are the digital artists. Not necessary because we are working in a flat surface, we have to do it upwards or this way. It is all related of the texture we want to accomplish. Whether it can be a rock or it can be a metal form, it all depends. Not always we can do it in this way. We can also make a line encrossed. It gave us to the draw we're making a little more dynamic. At the end, we do try to make more uniform, always towards the light. But in the darkness, we can continue crossing line. We can continue it with no problem. And accomplishing this shadow. Because I know this like a more difficult part, work with the shades. The comic characterizes for having high level of contrasts that some other artists make, but not necessary. Not all artists work on the same style. For example, on my own style, normal, I don't cover the most dark area. I like inside the darkness look for not complete tones, but as I said before, it is my choice. Here we can appreciate, we can accomplish with the ink. We can also use it as a watercolor, as you can see. I also use acrylic white ink. And acrylic ink white is very important. I also use oil, but oil at water. It means not oil that dilutes with oil, but oil that dilutes with water. I love to work with because it is you can appreciate how clear it works. I'm gonna show you. Here I have oil and here I have acrylic ink. And you're going to realize that they mix themselves. It doesn't matter if one is oil and the other is water. It makes better my drawing. For example, you can see, guys, here how they mix themselves. Here you can see that they mix themselves perfect with no problem. You see, we put some white on it. And you see how it degrades perfectly with no problem.